BBL 851, turn right, heading 180. 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
Happy Monday, everyone, and a new week is upon us, and with that, it's time to take a look at some of the stories that didn't get their own video in the past week. Coverage will centre around Airbus, Boeing, the Indian aviation scene, and more. So sit back, buckle in, and stay tuned. Beginning with Airbus and their results for January, which were rather bleak and once again down. The aircraft manufacturer reported that it had delivered just 21 aircraft during the month of January. This is down 10 from the 2020 figures, and deliveries specifically were seen for the A220s, A320neos, one singular A350, and also still the A320ceos, which is the older version of the A320 aircraft, and shows its longevity within the aviation industry. In regards to orders, Airbus once again reported 0 total orders. However, this isn't exactly a shock, as there's been various months where not just Airbus but also Boeing have welcomed in no new orders, and even when we do see an order, that amount is usually very small, and if anything, it's really only a handful, and typically from a smaller airline. It feels like light years ago when we were actually seeing orders for, say, 40 A350 or 50 787s from a big carrier. Meanwhile, over in India, it is being widely reported that the sector is showing some very, very positive signs of improvement during this pandemic, in a time where it is mostly negative. According to the head of South Asia for Airbus, who, if you are unaware, has just recently been appointed, Indian carriers are reporting strong passenger growth signs, with 60% of the pre-pandemic numbers for their domestic flights returning. Surprisingly though, this is better than a lot of places in the world, which are still remaining largely careful when it comes to restarting even domestic services. A perfect example of that is Australia, with domestic services still being tricky to come by and something not many are doing, with various states jumping in and out of a total lockdown. It means, given the restrictions, it's pretty hard to travel between states without being caught out. Of course though, international air travel will likely continue to be at low levels for a considerable amount of time, with, as you've heard me say many times, executives and analysts saying that it won't return for potentially 3 to 4 years. Heading just north into Russia, focus shifts to Aeroflot, who reported their losses for 2020, which were sizable. They said in a statement that was published in their press room, on the back of the deepest crisis in the history of aviation, with an almost complete halt of international traffic in the second and third quarters and anti-epidemic measures in the Russian regions, which led to significant pressure on demand, the company's net loss for the year amounted to RB 96.5 billion or US 1.3 billion. They also made a profit of RB 5.3 billion in 2019. Aeroflot is not a carrier covered here, but still plays a big role within the aviation industry, with flights being seen worldwide and even to destinations like that of Los Angeles prior to the pandemic, of course, when they were more present in a long-haul sense. A lot has changed since then. The carrier therefore has a number of narrow-body aircraft and also wide-bodies, but recently has seen the pandemic hit them in a negative way like most. Passengers carried for the 2020 calendar year dropped off massively, with revenue essentially being cut in half as well. This isn't something that is entirely shocking, to be completely transparent, with every single carrier essentially reporting something very similar. However, by no means is it a good result. Aeroflot saw cargo revenue, though, increase in the fourth quarter of the year, thanks to the busy festive period and, of course, the need for freighter operations more than ever right now. Focusing on the aviation industry as a whole, the International Air Transport Association, or IATA, last week announced their full-year passenger results, and they were quite staggering, with demand cut by a whopping 65%, one of the biggest takeaways from the information that they revealed to us overall. On top of that, specifically with international travel, the sector struggled massively, with demand dropping a whopping 75%. Domestic demand, however, was just down under 50% at 48%. While domestic and international travel have been halted thanks to the pandemic, it has been safe to say that more than anything, if we are seeing flights still operating, they are likely domestic services rather than international ones. A prime example could be the United States, although throughout the pandemic I'd argue they haven't really restricted air travel that much to begin with. From what I've seen, it's been relatively easy to fly around the country, and I've seen celebrities and regular people doing it very often. That, though, could be changing soon. The IATA also went on to discuss how January of this year hit the aviation industry pretty hard. They reported that once again bookings were down a staggering 70% for the future in comparison to last year. It means people are essentially not booking flights. That doesn't come as a shock, but I've certainly on social media seen many people book and hope that they'll be flying, say, this summer or in April or March, only in the end having to cancel. It's a huge risk to book any flight at this point. It's simply too hard to tell. If you want to take a look at me, I'm currently booked onto a Qatar Airways flight in July to head back to Australia, and I still run the risk of that being cancelled and potentially being bumped off that for a further 2 or 3 months. It's a risk that's meant to be a repatriation flight, and then we have people, of course, trying to do leisure flights. They're two different things, and of course, they both have the exact same type of risk involved with them. The final topic, of course, and like always, it wouldn't be an update without some news or discussion surrounding the Boeing 737 MAX. And once again, the MAX name is something maybe we're going to hear less and less over time, as the Air Lease Corporation, not for the first time, but once again, has seemingly not acknowledged that the aircraft is titled the 737 MAX, and is specifically focusing on adding a Dash 8 to symbolize how it used to be known as the MAX 8. The Dash is essentially replacing the MAX. This is purely speculation that it would actually be changing officially, and it probably won't be. So I just want to mention that right off the bat, that Boeing will probably not be rebranding the jet. However, we're just seeing customers and carriers move towards and making it known as the Dash 8. Either way, it's another intriguing piece of news that I thought would be worth just updating you all on. Thank you very much for watching this aviation news recap. If you have any thoughts on any of the stories that are discussed in this video, do not hesitate to leave them in the comments below. As always, please do continue to stay safe, and if you'd like to see more of these, don't hesitate to let me know as well, as I'll happily keep making them for you all. Until the next one, stay safe and take care.